Okay, so very good evening to everyone. And this is Paul NO0T with the Front Range 6 Meter Group. And tonight we're blessed to have Lance W7GJ talk about his DXpedition to H40GJ. And also following that, if everything works, we may even be able to see a live demonstration of a EME contact with what's his call again? I forgot now.
YJ0RS in Vanuatu.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah, ZL. Yeah, he's going to be on there. That's great. So with that, you want to take over there, Lance?
Okay. Let's see if I can get this to work. Okay.
All right, got fingers crossed. And there's Bob too. He's on there. Amazing.
Hi, Bob. Have Bob, have you decided what frequency you're going to use yet tonight? Hello, Bob. Can you hear me, Paul?
I can hear you fine. He, I'm not sure why he's not.
I'm sure that he's just got lots of things crossed up because he's been so busy working FT8.
That's right.
Okay, well, let's get the show underway here. And in August, I went to Temotu Province, which is the easternmost province in the Solomon Islands. And the idea was to operate 6 meter EME from there. Uh, There'd never been any kind of moon bounce at all from Temotu Province, and nobody in North America and many people in maybe nobody in Europe had ever worked Temotu Province on 6 meters before. So, like the trip that I took to Tristan da Cunha last fall, uh, I want to try to go to places which are really needed, which had never been worked by people in North America or in Europe. So uh, that's why I decided on H40, and I got some tips from Rob, uh, who was with the H40 WA DXpedition in 2024. And he gave me the contact information for Ben Hepworth, who's the host. He lives on this 6 acre island, and this picture is Pigeon Island. Um, and one of the reasons that it's attractive is because it's the H40 WA group last year had left a new 6 kilowatt generator there. And so I knew that there could be power there. And August was the driest month of the year, but I was still quite concerned about mosquitoes. But because the H40WA people had a big problem with them. So in this talk, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the location, the timetable, what was involved in getting there, how I set up for the DXpeditions, and then the trip home, and tell you everything that happened. And then we'll have a little bit of time for questions before we try to work YJ0RS on 6 meter EME. It's too bad that the K index is so high and there's aurora. That is usually a huge factor in squelching 6 meter EME. But we'll see tonight whether we can get through it. So why Pigeon Island? Well, as I said before, it was rare. Nobody'd ever worked it. I don't like to go places that people have already worked. So it was an all-time new one for everybody in North America. And we had the new generator available. It was a secure and quiet, very quiet place. Solomon Islands speak English. Well, Pidgin English, but there are other dialects there across the Solomon Islands that are recognized, but uh, at least with the government offices and the airlines and so on, they speak English. And the host on Pigeon Island uh, is his parents were British, so he does speak English, but he also has married a local and speaks the local dialect. And this spot had good views toward moonrise and moonset, which I always try to find because I'm just addicted to ground gain when the antenna is aimed out over the ocean. I mean, it's just such a rush to have that huge amount of gain, and it's quite an experience. The challenges were it took months to obtain a license. The Aaron, the man that is in charge of amateur licensing, was often out of the office or in meetings or on vacation, and it was really difficult to get a license uh, very far in advance. One of the other challenges is it takes a long time to get there from Montana. Um, it was going to take 4 days to get to Pigeon Island, provided all the flights went through, and they wound up not going through. So it took a long time to get there. And the other thing is that it's inside the TEP zone, so 6-meter EME during the daytime is very difficult, and that's another hurdle that we're going to have with YJ0RS tonight, because his moon is coming up during the daytime down there, and the high TEC, the total electric content maps, and have already moved high electron content over top of him. So it's going to be tough for EME, especially when he's aimed on the horizon.
Hey, Lance, could I interrupt just a second? We're still
Yes.
seeing your first slide. Could you go into presentation mode and advance your slides?
Okay. Can you see the second slide now?
No.
Okay.
You're still in edit mode on PowerPoint rather than presentation mode.
Huh. Okay, let me just get out of this. Okay, can you see my screen now?
I'm still seeing what we saw before, just your first slide in edit mode.
How's that one?
Same thing, no change.
Huh.
Somebody else jump in if I'm seeing something different here.
No, I concur with you.
Never had that.
I think we're seeing
problem.
your alternate monitor, Lance. We're not looking at if you have two monitors.
Well, the other monitor is showing the output from the K4, so I don't think that you're seeing that one.
Okay, we see your second slide now, but you're still in
We see a second slide.
Yeah.
Got to go down the bottom left-hand corner there and click the presentation button.
I'm not sure what that is.
Well, it'll work this way if you yeah, in the bottom left-hand corner, you got 3 little icons there. The second one from the left is 4 squares, and the third one from the left is the presentation mode.
Thank you very much for the help here.
There you go. That's the right button. Let's see if it worked. No, still in edit mode.
You just got to move up a little bit with your cursor, not that window, but just the 3 icons, the third one over. That's it.
Yeah, I see that. That's the one I hit.
Yeah, well, it'll work this way. If you just click on the slides over on the left side there, that it'll make them big in the middle, and that'll work.
Click on this. Okay, I'm sorry.
There you go. Yeah, we're seeing your third slide now.
We're seeing part of the third slide, not all of it.
Yeah, I have to. Let me try to. Goodness gracious, I've never had this trouble before. Let me close things here. Now, normally I can use the slideshow and you're going to see the whole show, but you say this does not work.
Nope, we're seeing your slides in edit mode. So we got
Okay.
the list of the bunch of slides down the left side there where your cursor is, and the one in the middle.
Okay, well,
Why don't you close it out and then start over again?
okay, let's try that. Okay.
And when you go to share, you should see the correct screen before you hit it.
Oh, I should share it first, though. Here. Now I've got to find you. Here we go. All right. Now I'm sharing. And I'm going to share the PowerPoint.
Okay, we're back where we were. We see the PowerPoint in edit mode.
Now, can you see the second slide here with Pigeon Island?
Over on the left, we do, yeah. We see your list of all the pictures of your slides on the left because you're in edit mode.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that here. Okay. Well, we could do it this way, and I will just make this bigger so people can see it. I wonder if that would work.
Yeah, that looks okay to me.
So if you make your screen full screen, something bad happens?
Yeah, when I go to view the slideshow, it for some reason it doesn't show what it says I'm screen sharing, but
Yeah, I don't know, Lance, I saw you click the slideshow button, and that's the right button, so not sure what's going on. But if you just click on the slides on the left as you go through the talk, we'll be able to see them.
okay, let's do it that way. So let me get back out of this and we'll do it this way. All right, so can you see this? This is Pigeon Island.
Yep, we see it.
Okay, thank you very much for your patience and for your guidance. Never had this problem before. So here's what we're going to talk about tonight. And I've already talked about all these things. The county health people told me that the dengue fever mosquitoes are during the day and the malaria mosquitoes are at night. And I have to take Malarone for the malaria. And so I was very worried about mosquitoes. But as it turned out, I saw one mosquito and I slapped it. And going there during August, which is their driest month, was a good move. Okay, here's where the Solomon Islands are. They're northeast of Australia. Can you see this island of this photograph of the Solomon Islands?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, here's where the Reef Islands are, and they're in Temotu Province, out here in the east. And the capital of the Solomon Islands is here, Honiara. And the reason that Temotu Province counts as another country is because it's closer to Vanuatu than it is to the rest of these Solomon Islands. So I had planned to leave on August 3rd so that I would be able to be in Honiara for this on August 7th, on Thursday, August 7th, for the weekly flight to Temotu Province on Solomon Airlines. And you can see this was my planned schedule for travel as well as for operating. And this first week was especially chosen because I would have the opportunity to operate when the moon was up at night. And as I said before, during the daytime, there's high electron content in the ionosphere over top of these areas in the TEP zone. And it can interfere dramatically with the efforts to try to bounce signals out away from the Earth up to the moon. So I packed up with everything went in Ziploc bags because so it would be waterproof in case it was raining out on the airport while my bags were being transferred onto the plane, and or if there was some boat calamity getting to Pigeon Island. So I left Missoula on the 3rd, which was a Sunday, and you can see here the flight was to go from Missoula to Los Angeles, and then on to Sydney, and then Brisbane, and then to Honiara, which is the capital of the Solomon Islands. And from there, I would take the weekly flight to Temotu Province. And everything did arrive in Sydney, so I was thrilled. You know, every time everything arrived at the next place, I was thrilled. So I got to Sydney in the morning, and I went downstairs after checking my bags through to the next place, which was Brisbane. And I went downstairs, got the train, and went to downtown Sydney. And I had never been there before, so I was very impressed by all of the skyscrapers in downtown Sydney. And of course, here's the opera house there that's very famous. New construction going up everywhere. These skyscrapers are being raised up in between skyscrapers. It's just amazing. So I had lunch in the old town, and I had eggs Benedict waffle and lava cake. It was just great. And then I got a message that Solomon Airlines had delayed their weekly flight from Thursday, August 7th until Sunday, August 10th. Well, I said, well, that's okay. I'm going to keep going, you know, because I just need to be there when things happen. So I spent overnight in Brisbane, then off to Honiara on Wednesday morning, August 6th. Goodbye, Brisbane. Hello, Honiara. Here's Honiara International Airport in the Solomon Islands. Welcome to the Solomon Islands. I took a taxi to the King Solomon Hotel where I had reservations for the night. And this is not working in this thing because I'm not playing the slide show, so I can't show you that, but they have a hotel elevator that's a tram that goes up the hillside, and all their rooms are old rooms that are built on different levels on the hillside. So I went up in the little tram with all my gear to the 4th level. And then Murphy struck again, and they said that they put it back to Thursday morning, August 7th. So I said, well, I'm glad I'm here then. So I headed out the next morning at 6 in the morning, checked my bags there at the desk, um, and I waited patiently for them. And then Murphy hit again, and the guy came out at 8 o'clock, and he said, well, we were scheduled to leave at 8 o'clock, but we're not going to leave now. We're going to reschedule it for Sunday. So they kept all my bags, and I went back to the Solomon Hotel, and you can't see the little elevator going back up again, but so I said, well, what am I going to do for a few days? So I walked down to the licensing office to meet Aaron Hopa that I had dealt with for months, and he wasn't in the office when I went there. He was at a luncheon meeting, but I did have lunch next door to his office, and then that night he called me and said, "Can I come by and visit?" So he came by to my hotel at the to visit and bought me a beer, and I bought him a beer, and it was great. And I explained to him about licensing and stuff, and why Temotu Province seemed to be so popular uh, for requests to be licensed, and I explained it was a different country for us. And so the next morning I went down. He had modified my license to give me licenses for both DXCC. So I've now got a license for Main Solomon Islands too. That's good until next October. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back there again, but that was pretty nice of him to do. To do, and I just picked that up on Friday then. And this is typical license plate down there. Solomon Islands, the Happy Isles. Everything is spelled a little bit differently down there. And here's the King Solomon Hotel. Best pizza, Supper Suprema was the one that I had here. They have their own pizza oven outside that's wood fired, which was it was a great place to eat. And I ran into Martin and Norma from Ireland. They live in Sydney, and so we had several meals together. So then Murphy struck again, and they said that the Sunday night flight was rescheduled for a week until Thursday, so the normal weekly flight. So in the meantime, what had happened was one of the stops on this flight in Temotu Province was at the biggest island, and the airport there in the town of Lata had been closed for months while they changed from a grass landing strip to pave the runway. And they had just finished paving the runway that weekend that I arrived in Honiara, but they hadn't had their aeronautical commission go out and inspect it yet. So we had to wait for that to happen. So when I leave on Thursday, August 14th, that would be the first commercial flight to land at Lata Airport and refuel on the way to Lam Lam Airport, which was another grass airstrip that I used to get to Pigeon Island. So there's the moonrise, Monday night, August 11th. I'm still in Honiara at the King Solomon Hotel, longing at this moon. This is what I planned the whole trip for, is to be able to work EME at night. But and here is a picture of downtown Honiara, but I can't show it to you because we're not in the slideshow mode. Here's some just wandering around the next week through the village. You could see that they have lots of tropical plants. It was quite pretty. There's the huge Chinese sports museum that China built for them. And then Murphy came back and hit me again, and he said that the flight on Thursday is going to be delayed until the afternoon. So that means that I'm probably not going to be able to make my first moonrise that Thursday night when I arrive in Pigeon Island. So Thursday morning, I check in at the domestic airport, had breakfast there at the airport. The plane arrives. There's not a whole lot of room on the plane for carry-on. And the first stop was the grass landing. Well, it's not really grass, it's just dirt on Kira Kira Island. That's where we did our first refueling stop. It took a few hours to get where we're going. We're going to do the same thing at Lata. We have a nice paved, new, wide, long runway at Lata, but again, they had to roll out the barrels and load us up. And this was the approach to Lom Lom grass airstrip shows you where Pigeon Island is. And that's over to the left there. You can see where the Lom Lom airstrip is. And I can't really show you this part of it. But here's a map that shows the Lom Lom grass airstrip. And then you have to wade across an inlet to get to the road where all the gear can be put on a truck. And the truck takes you over to this point, and then you can unload it all onto a boat and take a boat through the lagoons or in between the islands over to Pigeon Island. And I have a video here that shows you, but I can't play it. So we had some helpers. We had some local people helping us carry these 50-pound suitcases on top of their heads, wading through the inlet over to the truck, loaded on the truck, and then we transferred that on the truck around the island. Then we transferred the gear to the boat. Sorry, I have these little video clips, but you can't really see them here with this method. It's all loaded into the little tiny boat with an outboard motor to go to Pigeon Island. And here you can see there's a video of this too, but I can't really show that. They're carrying all the gear ashore onto Pigeon Island, and this was the place on Pigeon Island where I set up the shack. This is the view at low tide. It's on the northeast corner of the island. So starting Thursday afternoon, August 14th, these are the steps that I always go through on a DXpedition. The first step is to figure out where to put the mast. I have to allow room for the antenna raising and operation, and try to stay away from trees, power lines, and things like that, and minimize the feed line required. And then I'm free to assemble the mast and install it. And then when that's done, I can assemble the boom and the elements and take it up to the antenna clearing and mount it on the end of the mast. So I started doing that, and then I noticed that the new aiming circle I had made to go around the mast, I had forgotten to cut out the hole, so I spent an hour doing that. It slowed me up a little bit. I found that the shallow topsoil would work with my 16-inch guy anchors that I took, and they were a lot sturdier than the 10-inch long steel spiral spikes that I had taken also. not knowing whether I was going to be driving them into coral or whether I'd have enough depth in the topsoil there. So then I started assembling the the antenna. Here you can see the antenna being assembled in the clearing. And I put it on the mast. And the mast is on the prop, ready to be raised. All the guy lines are for the mast are already in place. So Saturday morning, I raised the antenna. There's a video showing how I raised the antenna, but you can't see that. So the antenna got up, but you can see there's still some things around, and there's some things that you can't quite see. Here's nearby branches. Some of them had to be trimmed. The power line that goes from the generator to the ham shack building was very, very close when I elevated. Bushes were cleared just barely. But the new aiming circle was on. I calibrated it on the sun, and 75 feet of feed line just reached through the window to the amplifier. So we were in business. And this is the setup on the kitchen table in the little bungalow that I was setting up in. And that's just a plot of the antenna, and the match seemed to be working. And there I am at the operating bench. The computer's on a stool, and I'm just in a little plastic chair. So the first moonrise turned out to be August 16th, which was Saturday, and the ground gain was just phenomenal. I worked 54 stations during the first moon pass, but I knew that the daylight was going to be coming here day by day. It was going to be encroaching on my operating, and also moonrise was moving further to the south, and so it was going to be rising over the neighboring island rather than the big lagoon that I traversed in the boat coming down there. So this was a typical computer screen to show you, give you an idea what it looked like during my contacts. I had my GJ tracker program running in the background in the real-time mode to give me an idea what parts of the country were going to be approaching their moonset. I had JT65A on here. I was operating on 50.223. And I had the chat, which was something that I hadn't planned on having, but I had taken a Wi-Fi extender, and Ben had told me that normally he only keeps the Wi-Fi on, keeps his signal link working during the daytime, but he said that since I was going to have the generator running all the time when I was on the air, he would have the signal link running when the generator was running. So the only problem was that I couldn't copy his Wi-Fi from. He's on the south end of the island, and I was on the north end, which, although it's only a 6-acre island, the Wi-Fi didn't make it there. So we used my Wi-Fi extender and hung it up in the house that's under construction right next to the antenna clearing. And by golly, I was barely able to get Wi-Fi, which was just really big help. So one of the more distant stations that I was hoping to work were the guys in South Africa. And of course, they needed H40. And my moon set, the moon, I was blocked by this shed with a big water tank that held the rainwater for the island when I pointed to the west. However, as the moon set moved further to the south, it just barely, the moon just barely passed by the building with the water tank and then hit the water. And my antenna could see that. And I worked ZS4TX when my moon was about minus 1.5 degrees. It was just open ocean that direction. So by curvature of the Earth, I had great ground gain. And that that night, I actually, here you can see on the right-hand side of my screen, I was copying HB9Q, and I copied him down to -3, lower than -3 degrees. There must have been some sort of inversion or something which let my signal go even more around the Earth before it took off. This was pretty interesting because this was during the afternoon locally for me. And this huge blob of ionization had been over me. And it had been blocking me. I'd been copying North American stations very well, but it was very difficult for any of them to copy me. So I was struggling making contacts that day during the daytime. But I figured HB9Q should be a shoo-in because he has a cross-polarized array. He has 4 cross-polarized 7-element Yagis. And he always transmits circular polarization. So no matter what kind of weird Faraday rotation or interference that this ionospheric blob was causing me, I thought, oh, I'll make it easily with HB9Q. Well, I copied him solid for an hour and a half, but he never heard me. And he listens. He does what's called, I can't remember the name of it offhand now, but he's got a setup which electronically changes the polarization of the signals, and it picks the best one from 0 to 360. So he was listening on all polarizations for my signal, and he never heard anything. So that's when I started getting quite a lot of respect for this high ionization blob which came over me and apparently created one-way propagation and or just blocked signals. And this is kind of, here you can see with the yellow asterisk, this is a shot that I took off the screen a month later, but it's the same idea. And it's the same thing that's going on right now in Vanuatu, which is just south of my yellow asterisk. And you can see this high intensity ionization, which was moving in. So I have a video of the high winds there, which were causing a problem, but you can't see those either, sorry. So then in the 8th moon pass, Murphy hit me again, and the amplifier died. I think it just overheated. So I had a couple extra days that I lost. I was planning to work FT8 during the daytime, but I couldn't do any of that. So I had a little bit more luxurious packing up period than I would normally have. It really would have been a very much of a rush to pack up. So just as a point of interest, here's me packing up the antenna and the mast. And this is the way it works. First, the mast gets in along with the prop and the falling derrick that I used to raise the antenna, and then the boom all of the telescoping parts of the boom get put on there and the rest of the elements, and then I put it back in its carrying bag. So then we went off to the Lom Lom airstrip for the weekly flight to arrive, and they were delayed until the afternoon. But we carried the gear out to the boat and loaded the boat again. Then we unloaded it and put it in the truck. And this is something of interest to me. I had never noticed this in any of my other exploits to the South Pacific, but there were a number of locals that had orange hair. And it must have been a gene or something from the UK when English had the Solomon Islands, but I've never seen that anywhere else in the South Pacific. But there were a number of people with orange hair. So we got it all back in the truck, drove around the island. This is as far as the truck can go. And then I've got another video clip showing us carrying the gear on top of our heads through the water. And this is where we checked in at the Lom Lom ticket counter. There was no electricity and no radio contact with the airplanes, but at one point, one of the check-in guys here went off to the village where somebody had access to cell phones, and he came back and let us know that the plane was on its way. Meanwhile, Thursdays, when the weekly flights are there, is also market day at the Lom Lom airstrip. So people come from the neighboring villages and just hang out in the area around the airstrip. You can see that the betel nuts are very popular to chew on there by the red teeth. And here's some more orangish hair you can see. And most of the villagers brought food that they had grown from home to sell at the market. And they just sat there all day. I sat there for 4 hours waiting for the plane to arrive, and they had already been there for several hours before that. Others gambled at card games under a thatched roof, and most of these people did not speak English, but they spoke the Aiwu language. However, I did meet a teacher there who spoke English, and I'm sorry I can't play this for you, but on her cell phone, she had recorded "Meet Me in Montana," and she was playing that, and I thought, oh boy, that's kind of interesting, because that's where I was headed. So farewell to the Reef Islands. That was a picture of Pigeon Island from the air. And there I am flying off into the sunset to Honiara. So in summary, I worked 150 6-meter EME contacts in this 7.5 moon passes. There was one station that I worked on direct on scatter, and that was 3D2AG right here at the top of the list. He didn't think that it was possible for us to work on EME, and I didn't hear him initially on EME, so I just told him we could easily work on just direct on scatter, and he didn't believe me because there is nobody close enough to him to work on 6 meters direct on scatter. The nearest stations are like 2,000 miles away. So he's only a little over 1,100 or around 1,100 miles, I think, from me. So I said, okay, I'm going to take a break from working EME at noon. I brought the antenna down, swung it around, pointed it over to Fiji, and coordinated with him on the chat page. And we worked like a minimum number of sequences. And in fact, then he called me again just to make sure that it wasn't a weird freak contact. But so we worked easily using Q65. I mean, it was just a shoe-in. So then the question comes up, do I have another one in me somewhere? And I've still got some ideas on where to go next. Obviously, I'm licensed for H44 now, so I could go back there. But there's still a lot of people who need Central French Polynesia on 6 meters. So I found a perfect place to operate there. But they said that they're closed for renovations all next year. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen yet. And there are a couple other possibilities too, but anyway, does anybody have any questions? I know we're done a little bit early because you couldn't see the video clips. I apologize for that.
Yeah, that was great, Lance. I can't believe all the stuff you had to go through to get there.
Yeah, it was too bad to lose that first week, but as you know, Solomon Islands, I mean, Bob had problems with Solomon Islands on his first trip too. Solomon Airlines, I mean, so it's a challenge. The transportation is always a problem. I wish you could have seen some of the video clips though. I mean, they were just, maybe I can show them to you here. Let me just see if I can show them in a way that you could see.
Quick question from WB0M.
Yes.
Hey, Lance, thanks for the advanced help with trying to work you for my little station here in Nebraska. My question is, are you a solo traveler or do you go with family or something like that? And is this all business or do you also take time out to have a vacation?
Well, it varies. I mean, I have gone with my wife on some of these, so she can go snorkeling while I'm working moon bounce. But on the one last fall to Tristan da Cunha, it was a solo operation. This was a solo operation, and the whole purpose of this trip was to activate Pigeon Island on 6 meter EME for people who still needed 6 meters, needed that DXCC on 6 meters. So I was pretty focused on doing everything I could to achieve that goal. And it's pretty much that way last fall when I went by myself to Tristan da Cunha also. You know, it seems like the days just, yes, I had to wait a week for the next flight when I got there. However, the days just clicked by so quickly, you know, just for getting things organized and trying to prepare everything, and just focusing on the goal. So I didn't really have a whole lot of time to do anything. And once I got to Pigeon Island, of course, it was really all my time was spent setting up or operating, and then trying to catch some sleep. So, um, I guess that answers your question. It was pretty much devoted to 6 meters.
Did you
No,
have
it does.
some
It does answer
for
it,
you?
and I can understand it completely. So, I'm sure you had a chore chart when you got home. By the way, hey, thanks again, Lance. Thanks for everything. 7-3.
Yeah, when I got home from Tristan da Cunha, my wife told me, "You've been gone for 73 days." I said, "Well, I wasn't counting, but she was." And the revenge remodeling was already taking place in the upstairs bathroom and recarpeting the loft, and so she said, "You're not going to go away for something like that again." And I said, "No, that's for sure."
Lance, is Rod, K0DAS. I'm
Hi,
curious.
Rod. I was
Yeah.
thinking about you just today, when we had a presentation at Kiwanis Club from a fellow that flew a DC-3 Miss Montana over to the Normandy Beach uh, celebration in 2019,
Oh, wow.
and you know, there was some discussion about the Amelia Earhart thing, and I said, "Oh, I know somebody who's been out there looking for that." And then somebody told me that they have just found the place.
No, they haven't.
No. Okay. Well, you need to go back again, I guess.
Yeah, we're actively working towards another expedition next year. We're basically looking for the funding. We've got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, ready to go. But I've got a question on your DXpedition. On
Well,
the
you sure do know how much one-way propagation we had. I copied to you on practically every transmission, and it took days for you to copy me.
it was unbelievable. I've never experienced anything like it before.
Yeah,
But
that's why it's so much better to operate at night when you go down into these tropics.
yeah, my question is, I'm curious about the power amplifier. What did you find out failed, and what did they do about it? Did they fix it for you?
Well, he just received it over in England, or Wales, uh, day before yesterday, and I had sent it the first time as soon as I got back from the trip, and it bounced around the Western United States for 2 weeks and finally got returned to me because they said it was too valuable and I couldn't ship it over there, not being a registered exporter. And so we scratched out the value that I'd written on the customs form and resent it from the post office, and it bounced around for another 10 days before it finally left the United States. And then after a couple days, I mean, he got it. So I'm not sure he's had a chance to look at it yet, but I took the bottom off of it when I looked, and I didn't see any signs of, like I had when I was in the Austral Islands. You could really tell when things had blown up. I didn't see any of that, and I did test the cooling fans, and I was able to get them to fire up with my with a 12-volt battery. So they still were working, although one thing that I had been worried about was they were sounding to me like they were really on their last legs. They were kind of groaning, making strange noises toward the end, and I think that maybe they were the problem in causing the overheating of the device,
Okay.
because there was protection in it for, SWR and for overheating and for overdriving and all that stuff, but for some reason something else failed, and I'm just guessing that maybe it was the fans.
Okay. I was just curious, knowing what happened on your earlier one when the low pass filter failed.
Yeah, well, if it was nothing that I could fix while I was there, unlike when you guys helped me find a fix so beautifully when I was in French Polynesia before. So yeah, this is the third time that I've had some amplifier problems, but thank goodness it didn't happen until during the 8th moon pass, and uh, was still very frustrating to me because there were a number of dedicated, deserving 6-meter operators that I had hoped to work, and I didn't have them in the log yet, and I needed those couple extra days, but at least there were 150 people in the log, so that was good.
Yeah, it was just outstanding. I know what you go through, and it's amazing. You've got the energy to do this for all of us. We really appreciate it.
Well, Rod, you are an example of why I hang in there, I'm, for these 12, 14-hour stints trying to, I know what you're going through on the other end. Tearing things apart, checking, the antennas, checking the feed lines, checking the amplifier, checking, everything. And you're out in the field too. You're in a portable operation. So, I probably more than most people, I have an appreciation for what it's like to try to operate portable and do EME. So I really appreciate it. I know what people are going through. So I try to hang in there and make it work. Let me just see whether I can play any of these videos. Can you all still see my screen?
We see a big question mark here.
Oh, you're still seeing the question mark. Oh, rats. Okay. Do you still see a question mark?
Oh, we see the video now.
Okay.
We see the video.
Okay, so this was arriving on Pigeon Island with the 50-pound suitcases. And that was the shack, the ham shack. Let me just see if I can play one other thing for you here. Real quick. I have to make this bigger. Well, let's see. Open with. Here we go. Now, let me see if I can. Can you see this? Am I still sharing this?
No, we're seeing you.
Just see you, Lance.
Oh, okay. Let me put this on pause. Share my screen. I'm sorry. This is such a. Can you see this inlet that we have to wade across yet?
Yeah, we got it.
So glad they didn't trip and drop your luggage.
Well, me too, but that's why I had everything in Ziploc bags too. So anyway, I'm sorry that I couldn't show you more of the little video clips, but is there any other information that I can provide for people before we start to watch for Bob?
Lance, I have a question.
Sure.
I want to become a better user of WSJTX during EME and have a question about averaging. When is it a good time when you're chasing DX to clear the average? I assume when I see you on the chat send somebody RR73, that means you are now transmitting something different than you did the preceding sequence. And I would be well advised to clear the average. But I just want to, from the standpoint of the DX station, make sure I'm doing it right.
That's exactly the way I would do it, Sid. That's exactly right. But from my perspective, the way it was explained to me, the way the algorithm works, is it is actually averaging the callers on each individual frequency. And once it decodes them, of course, then they go into the active stations list, and it makes it it's almost like the call3.txt in JTX. So it knows who the calls are then and what their frequencies are. And so it easily decodes them. No matter who I'm working, I'll see those calls pop up again with reports or whatever. That way I can work, and that's why I can work. I'll get two Rogers at the same time from different stations, that I sent reports to an hour ago. But they'll pop up, and then I can put them in the log. So for me, if I clear my average, it clears off the average of all the callers that have not been put in the active station list yet. So I have to be careful, if there are a lot of callers, whether or not I really want to get rid of the averages. Bob, do you have any comments on that? YJ0RS, calling YJ0RS. Well,
oh, this is going to work, Lance. My internet connection's a bit shaky.
Well, before you go, Bob, can you tell me what frequency I should be calling you on tonight?
I just whatever's good for you. I'll probably be somewhere around 50.205.
50,
but at the moment, South America is pouring through on Central America is XX is plus 30. So the plus 32 that time. So the ionosphere is pretty active.
Yeah, I've been watching the this ionospheric map from Australia, and I see this huge blob over top of Vanuatu. But in an hour or so, it'll start to move out of the way a little bit. So fingers crossed. Does anybody else have any comments, suggestions, or questions?
Lance, it's Chris, N4SIX.
Hi, Chris. Nice to work your wife, too.
Actually, that was my daughter, 14
Oh, your
years
daughter.
old.
Oh,
That's probably the youngest one you worked on this expedition.
I think so.
Hey, Lance, you had mentioned you've got your license for H44. You had mentioned you're looking at other places.
Mhm.
Your amplifier is in getting worked on. What can we do to help make those other places a reality for you?
Well, I'm not sure there's anything you can do, Chris. I just need to try to find, manage to get, for example, FO. The place that I really want to go is on Maupiti Island, and that's the farthest west in the string of Society Islands where Tahiti is. And it's got moonrise over the water, around through the north, moonset over the water. I mean, it's absolutely, my heart beats so fast when I think about the ground gain I'm going to have from there. But I need to rag on them a little bit more and see if I can get a commitment from them that they're going to, maybe I could come to that northernmost bungalow in September next year. And hopefully they'll have their renovations done enough, at least on that area or something. I just have to try to work on them a little bit more. I could do H44, and I think I've got a location on H44. I was hoping that I could find a place that might offer snorkeling, so I could have a helper come and carry 2 of my 50-pound bags for me, but as her quantity of checked luggage. But I'm not sure that every place that I've looked at so far in southwestern Solomon Islands, they don't, where the snorkeling would be good, they don't have enough open space for a 43-foot long Yagi, plus being on a 24-foot mast and then raising the whole thing up. I need a fair amount of space. And I tell people I'd like to have a 60-foot diameter clearing on the north side of the shack where I set up, so I'm never pointed back into the shack at myself either. I made that mistake on my first EME DXpedition, and it was very uncomfortable. So we'll have to see. There were a couple of Japanese guys that were planning to go to H44 this fall, but because they couldn't, too many months passed and they couldn't get a license, and they didn't speak very good English, which I feel very, very lucky that I was able to call on the phone, leave messages, repeatedly send emails and so on, and I got my license after several months. But they had located a place there, and I've been in touch with them, with the little place that they'd been talking to, which is up the hill from the airport on Guadalcanal, not far out of town from Honiara. And they have 3 bungalows, and it looks like a great horizon. They're like at 1,000 feet elevation, so they've got a good shot out over the ocean. And that's a possibility too, that I might use, although that would be another solo trip if I did that. So the solo trip is, well, you just trade another airline ticket for excess baggage costs. So,
And you don't have the help that your wife brings. I
no.
know she's helped with raising antennas and stuff like that, so that's tough.
Yeah.
One other quick question for you. Have all cards been sent out yet?
Yes.
Okay. I have not got mine or Abigail's. I'll send you a note on that.
Really? Huh. Yeah,
No worries.
I'm sure that I already sent. I think I sent both of your cards in the same envelope to you.
Okay.
But maybe I had the wrong address. I used the QRZ.com address. Is that okay?
It is. It is. Yes, sir. So no worries.
Well, I
No
don't know.
worries.
Yeah, that I think everybody got them. So you should have received it already too. Although I know there have been glitches with the postal service, and funding for the postal service has been an
Terrible.
iffy thing right now. And that's why when I sent the amplifier, I couldn't believe it was sent back to San Francisco for customs, and then they sent it back to Billings, Montana, and then Billings sent it to Missoula, Montana, and that's where it then got sent from to go overseas. So it's really weird the way stuff is bouncing around anymore. It doesn't seem very direct like it used to be.
Well, thank you again. I appreciate all you've done.
Well, let me know. I'll send you out some replacement cards.
We'll give it another week or so.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments or thoughts?
I do, Lance. I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you, Fred. I mean, I'm sorry we had such a screw up at the beginning of this thing, and it was totally my fault. And I know in retrospect what happened was, I had several stations coming in at once, and I was trying to log them, and in order to do that, I had to enter a new call into the DX call thing and then relog it. And I was only transmitting to you for like 5 seconds or something. So I thought, well, he won't decode that. It won't confuse anything, and it confused everything, So I'm sorry.
Well, please don't apologize. Don't worry about it. I'm overwhelmed at how much I appreciate all the things that you do for us. So thank you. And it's great to hear about you taking another trip. And if you want to take that vacation to Hawaii, with your antenna, I'll help. So.
Well, I got a email from a guy in Hawaii who has a elevation mount and some antenna. It's at least 7 elements, and I can't remember his call right now, but he said that he expected to be QRV by October.
Wow, that's great news.
Yeah. So I said, wow, boy, there are people just chomping at the bit to work you, hurry up and get on. And he said, well, I have to come back to the US or something for a month or two. And then, but I'll be back in October. So, well,
that's great news.
That's pretty
well,
close.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Fred, thank you for your patience. And I'm sorry, you can't believe how hectic it was.
Well, the fella asked about, do you get any vacation? And I watched the daily comments on ON4KST, and you don't have time for vacation. You hardly sleep. So we appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of a single purpose trip.
Right.
So, but I was thrilled that I didn't get dengue fever or something. I was just so petrified before I went about the mosquitoes. And it turns out that Pigeon Island is little separated from the other mainland islands, the other main islands. Yeah. And it being the driest month, that really, really helped.
Good.
Because the county nurse told me the problem with dengue fever is there are 4 different dialects of dengue fever. And so if you've had it once, that's okay. I mean, you've gone through it and it wasn't fun, but that's okay. But if you have it twice and the next time you get it, you have a different version of it, your body thinks that, oh, I've already had this, I'll just fight that. But it doesn't, because it's a different version. So what winds up is your immune system basically fights against your brain and you die trying to
Okay.
fight off this different strain of dengue fever. And that's how people die from it, is that they are exposed to different versions of it. So, phew. I'm still
Yes.
here. My back is killing me, but I think, I might have an easy one still left in me. So we'll see.
Thanks, Gig.
Well, thanks you to everybody that helped me with this trip and gave me context too. I just, after Tristan da Cunha, when I worked 107, actually I worked 173 people on EME from Tristan da Cunha, and that was my personal best. But, when I got up to 150 here, I thought, whoa, a couple more days, if I could just get 20 a day, I could beat my old record. And yeah, didn't happen, but maybe I could do it from some other place.
Murphy hiding in the corner.
Well, hello, Peter. Thank you very much for the contact.
Thank you, Lance. It was amazing to see the amount of effort you had to go to move the antenna each time. I couldn't believe those steps you went up and down each night.
I didn't have a video here to show you, but I had these little tiny steps right next to the lagoon where it dropped off like 10 or 12 feet into the lagoon to try to go up and in the dark and go over wet roots and the whole thing to get up and to turn the antenna. And boy, on no sleep and in the middle of the night, I really had to make a conscious effort to watch myself. And I did fall once at that point, but I fell into a tree, and so the tree stopped me before I went down the cliff into the lagoon. So after that point, I thought that was too close for comfort. I really have got to be really careful here, because there was there was a clinic a couple islands away, but it could be serious. So
Yeah, any wound in the tropics is not a good thing to have.
yeah, that's exactly right. But I did notice that after a week and a half of running up there every 15 minutes to move the antenna, I put on my socks, my support socks to get ready for this long airplane trip back, and my calves were huge, and I could barely get my socks on. I thought, wow, this exercise every 15 minutes running up the hill to turn the antenna and running back down again really has built up my calves.
Well, EME is a new version of cardio exercise.
I guess so.
Thanks, Lance, for the contacts. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Lance, thank you so much. Just like Fred and everybody else said, and Peter, thank you.
Well, certainly glad to. Yeah, and you got a 6-meter first out of it.
I'm happy, Lance. It's always exciting working you and seeing the huge signals. So thank you.
Well, I'm always glad to see your big signal, and I'm glad that there's a possibility we're going to see it again.
Right. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Lance, for everything you've done. And thanks for everybody who joined us tonight and or tomorrow morning. I guess it is in VK5 land. And thanks very much for going through all this and making it all work. It all worked out at the end. But thanks again, Lance, for everything you've done.
Thank you, Paul.
Did you want to try your EME contact with Bob, or
Well,
I can stop the recording and then we can record that separately.
Yeah, let's do that, because I think Bob is not going to be ready for another 15 minutes or so. And perhaps he's still being overwhelmed by callers from South America. So it's, that's the problem with daytime. He's got all this great ionospheric propagation there, and it's going to be tough to get through, but I'm going to give it a try and we'll see.
All right, we'll stop the recording now and then we'll start up the other one.
Okay, thanks.